Dear colleagues, I hope you can hear me. I think this is also an experience to talk in this way together. But of course, what I really would like to say is I appreciate very much to talk about this issue. I think it's one of the most important issues we have at the moment. And when I remember when we have been together in November in Durban, nobody could imagine what is going on now and what kind of problems we are creating. And if we have the connects to migration, I think, of course, it's most interesting to think about this because there are some disadvantages and risks, but also some advantages in this new situation. So what we can say from our point of view is that since Second World War, no other event has had such far-reaching consequences on human mobility, because if you have a look to our globalized world at the moment, of course, everything is shut down and we cannot imagine what is going on. So we think health and immunity of travelers can be expected to become a central part of the security profile of travelers and migrants alike. At the World Congress last November, I praised the role of cities as key actors in migration and the need to involve and fully acknowledge local authorities as key players in migration governance. Well, in today's context, this becomes as paramount as ever. If managing global mobility was already a difficult task, this is only due to become more challenging and will require a coherent and coordinated approach at all levels. Perhaps this crisis will act as a catalyst to address shortcomings in governance systems, such as the need to fully involve cities in migration policy making, both at regional and national level. We have a difficult road ahead to help steer our economies and societies through highly challenging times. At ICMPD, we have started a process of reflection to envisage post-crisis scenarios and preparedness, drawing on experience and guidelines developed in the framework of the Migrants in Countries in Crisis initiatives, implemented alongside our friends of IOM. We believe that the first priority is to ensure the rights and safety of both migrants and societies, and to develop evidence-based new approaches within a context of international cooperation and dialogue. Predictability and especially mutual trust are essentials in this time and of high uncertainty. As long as individual mobility is so much restricted, states need to put in place mechanisms that permit the joint management of organized mobility between them in a reasonable and transparent way. This includes agreements on the actual modalities of transport, sectors, working conditions, and health protection, but also on quarantine measures, transportation costs, medical costs, and guaranteed returns, for example, for the workers participating in labor mobility schemes. Cities' input to this process is ever so critical. It is particularly worth noting to look at the millions of migrants who are in irregular and often hidden situations. They are the first affected by a recession and will likely lose their jobs, and of course the informal labor market is under a special pressure. Even when their jobs are guaranteed, shifting these jobs from the informal to the formal labor market will be a huge task, requiring both control and proactive labor migration policies. We need to move beyond the lens of vulnerability to see the asset migrants themselves represent in general and in particular during this current crisis. In some instances, as it has been the case in Portugal, we are witnessing action that propel temporary regularization and long-term residency rights, because those already in host countries are now a premium resource, not only for reasons of public health, but also to sustain food security and exports. The corona crisis shows that many of those who arrived at Europe's borders in the 2015 refugee crisis and who faced an uncertain future are now key to ensuring that European countries find their way through this epidemiological crisis. For many years, critics have bemoaned that there are no global strategies for labor migration. Now there might be no other solution than devising strategies which follow the following 4 principles. First, they must cater for economic needs just as much as for public health priorities. Second, they must safeguard migrant workers' rights and well-being. Third, they must combine market and control instruments. And fourth, they must lift public-private partnerships and international cooperation to a completely new level. The good news is that for all these needs, there is a sufficient know-how and expertise, which seems to be steadily growing, especially during the COVID-19 containment. Equally important, they carry the positive message that risks is manageable, economies can be maintained, and states and cities can stay active in times of serious crisis. In this regard, migrants play a critical role. Migrants deserve particular attention in terms of their specific protection needs, but more importantly, they deserve particular attention, recognition, and visibility in terms of what they bring to our communities and societies in finding our way out of this crisis. So this is just a few thoughts from my side. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope we can discuss more in this issue. Thank you.